Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Friday Night Curry Club. I hope you are all well and I hope you have had a lovely week and you're ready for a little bit of wind down time. If you're in the UK, we've got a lovely long weekend to look forward to, which is amazing. As always, make sure you say hello if you're watching. Let me know where in the world you're watching from and where you're tuning in from. And as always, let me know if you're cooking or if you're just watching and you're going to be cooking later on in the week or over the weekend. It's just really interesting for me to know who's sort of got ready, got their ingredients prepped and are ready to go. I know there's a few of you, but it's also quite nice to know if you're going to be cooking it later on in the week, because this is your opportunity to ask all the questions that you need to ask me, and then you can hopefully go away and cook it all beautifully and take lots of pictures and share them with me over the week. As always, make sure that you give the video a thumbs up at the end, because it's always nice to get a little thumbs up. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel so far. So today we are cooking a lovely dish. We are cooking Achaari bangan, or it's aubergine that's cooked in lots of pickling spices, we call them. It's a blend of bunchgordon is the name, but it's a blend of pickling spices, and I'll talk you through all of that as we go through. But before we do, have we got lots of hellos to shout out and give you a little wave?
Got Linda says, good morning from Arizona. I made last week's recipe over the weekend. It was a hit with the husband. You were right, the aroma was fantastic.
Hi Linda, thank you for joining again. I'm so glad that you enjoyed last week's recipe. Oh, I must apologise about last week. We all came to a bit of an abrupt end, didn't we, last week? The gremlins got in there and ruined things, but I was so blown away the fact that everybody just carried on and shared your pictures with me afterwards. You know the format now, you know what to do. So that was really nice, but I do apologise that happened. Hopefully we'll have a much smoother run today. But hi Linda, welcome, and thank you for joining from Arizona.
We have got Marilyn on Vancouver Island.
Hi Marilyn in Vancouver, lovely to have you join. Welcome.
Gordon is here.
Hi Gordon, how you doing? Hope you got your red t-shirt on.
We've got...
But you didn't guess today's colour, did you? Ha.
Debbie is here.
Hello Debbie.
We've got both
welcome.
Debbies.
Both Debbies. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining.
We've got Adrian here from Hove, just watching.
Hi
and
Adrian.
This weekend.
You're just watching, but what was that? You're going to
Cooking
cook
this weekend.
Cooking over the weekend from Hove. Hopefully we're going to get some nice weather, but I don't know.
Elizabeth from Connecticut.
Hi Elizabeth from Connecticut, welcome and thank you for joining.
Julian is here.
Hi Julian,
and
how you doing?
Mark from Cape Town.
Hello Mark from Cape Town. Woo, hope you're well.
And that is all of the hellos I have at the moment.
Lovely
Akos from Hungary is here.
Hi Akos from Hungary, lovely to have you join. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the dish that we are going veggie and vegan actually, so it works for both today, just because I thought we'd mix it up a little bit. We quite often do meat dishes. It's quite nice to do a veggie option. This dish it's quite homely, it's quite unctuous, it's quite delicious. It's a really lovely one to do as a side dish or even as your main dish. We're also going to make some brante as well. So we're going to make some square brante today, not like the ones that we've made before, not the lachar brante that we sort of made in a circle. I'm going to show you how to fold these and fold them up, and then we'll roll them out. Only because I think brante with this dish are really, really delicious. So that's what we're going to do. I'll talk you through the ingredients that we've got going on before we get cooking, just so that you know what we're using. And if you are, I had a few questions with people being short of or couldn't find certain ingredients. If you haven't got something, just give us a shout out and I'll either give you a substitute, or most of the time it's probably fine if you just miss it out for this time. It's usually absolutely fine. I hope you've all got a drink in hand, because it is Friday and it means it's wind down time. I've got a little drinky just to see me through. Right, so first and foremost, aubergines. Love aubergines. There's so many different varieties of aubergines that you can get. You've got little mini ones, you can get white ones, you can get really beautifully coloured mixed mottled ones, all kinds of aubergines. These are your basic standards. I love aubergine. I think it's just such a lovely vegetable, carries flavour really, really well. We did have a few people who said they couldn't eat aubergines, or is there anything else? In fact, was it you, Gordon, who asked me for a meat alternative, which really made me chuckle, which was hilarious. But if you can't have aubergine, you can substitute other vegetables in here. Cauliflower will work, mushrooms will work. If you wanted to do this as a meat dish, you could use lamb, you can use chicken. Just make the masala in the same way. Obviously, cooking time will change. So there's lots of different things that you can do, and it's really about that sort of. It's not quite a tangy flavour, but the spices give it almost like it's like a pickled style, and you can add a little bit of lemon juice and so on to add a little bit more zing if you want to. So we've got the aubergines. I've got potatoes. I'm only going to use one aubergine. I have got two here, but I'm only going to use one because it's only me having my dinner today all by my own. Potatoes. I've got a couple of onions. I've got some chilies, some nice green finger chilies that are always used in Indian cooking. I've got some ginger. I've got garlic. I've got my masala dabba with all of my spices in there. I've got my blend of spices, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. I forgot to buy tomatoes, so I've got some tinned tomatoes. See, even I make mistakes. Hey ho. I've got some fresh coriander to go in at the end. I've got some mango powder here, so this is what's going to give it a little bit more of a zing as well. Mango powder is just a powder that's made out of green mangoes that are dried. And then they just blitz down to a powder, and it just adds a really fruity zing. It's really lovely. Mango powder on your chips is a really lovely thing to do. And then we are also going to be adding some coriander seeds, so I've got that there. And we're going to use something called Asafoetida. Asafoetida it's a spice. It's the sap of a plant that's almost like fennel, and the sap is dried and then it's ground down, and it produces this yellow powder which is really, really pungent. If you've not cooked with Asafoetida before, it's a bit of an experience. So if you have got some, do have a little smell of it, because it's really, really quite potent. In fact, it's quite acrid. It's not very nice to smell, but as it cooks and as it sort of mellows in the cooking, the flavour that it gives is really lovely. So if you are somebody who can't eat garlic or onions, Asafoetida has the same flavour profile as onion and garlic, so you can use that to get the flavour. Obviously you won't get the body that you would get with onions and garlic, but it is a really good ingredient to add those sort of flavours. It's also really good for your tummy, and it's really good with your digestion, so it helps you to digest your food really well. It keeps everything moving as it should. So are we all good?
We've got
we've got some more.
Well, Linda in the French Riviera says hello.
Hi Linda, how are you doing? In the French Riviera sounds beautiful.
Gorgeous. And we've got Joni is here today. Lawrence is cooking.
Hi Joni. Lawrence
has a glass
is
of prosecco with her.
Good girl. That's what I like to hear. Lawrence is in the kitchen whilst you're enjoying yourself with your feet up.
Robert has a nice Shiraz.
Hi Robert, how are you doing? I hope you're enjoying that Shiraz. Sounds lovely.
We've got May from the Basque Country.
Hi May from the Basque Country. Amazing. Welcome,
And
welcome.
Leslie in Hampshire.
Hi Leslie, how are you? Lovely to have you join.
And we've got Nesta in Barcelona.
Hi Nesta in Barcelona. That's what we like. Oh, lovely. Welcome.
Julian says, I got home from work a few minutes ago, rushing to get prepared.
Oh, do you want me to hold fire, Julian? Just for you. Just get all your bits and pieces ready. I'm impressed. You've just got home and you're cooking. So if you can do it, everyone can do it.
Robert says, I forgot to buy onions. I'm using shallots.
That's fine. That's fine. Just use them in exactly the same way as we would with the onions. So that's not a problem at all. So main process, we're going to be making a lovely masala. We're going to be toasting our spices. We're going to make a spice blend that we're then going to add to that masala. We then add our potatoes, which we're going to dice nicely. And then we'll add our aubergine and we'll let that all cook together, and then we'll move that to one side and we'll make our burrata, or our fried breads that we're going to be making. So the first thing we need to do with this dish, I'm also going to be cooking it with mustard oil. If you don't have mustard oil, that's fine. Just use a normal vegetable oil, absolutely fine. If you are using mustard oil, one of the first things that you need to do, if it's pure mustard oil, you just need to bring it up to smoking point and then let it cool. So I'm going to do that first, just so that when we come to cook with it, it's not too hot. So I'm going to pour in my mustard oil and let that do its thing. So mustard oil is oil that is made from pressing mustard seeds. It's got a bit of a kick to it. It's quite punchy, but it's an ingredient. If you're using 100% mustard oil, it's an ingredient that when you go to try and find it in many shops, it has a label on the outside that says it's not an edible product. But in India we use it a lot, and lots of people cook with it. Just make sure that you bring it up to smoking point, then turn it off and let it cool down for a little while before you cook with it. So that's all I'm doing in that pan at the moment. The reason we like to use mustard oil, and quite often with veggie dishes and fish it works really well with as well, it just gives a real oomph, a little bit of a punch, which is quite nice. So whilst that's doing that, keep an eye on it, because obviously you don't want it to burn. You just need to keep an eye on it. Make sure once it gets to that point that you turn it off and let it cool down. We can just have a quick chat about the spices that we're using. So the spices are what's known as banj bud, and it's a spice blend.
Put it down on the
hang on.
Yeah.
Can you see?
And then I can zoom in and
we'll
just point
zoom into it. So so this is your blend of spices. We've got mustard seeds at the bottom. So I'll give you the quantities that I'm using. So a teaspoon of mustard seeds. I've got fennel seeds. So these are the green ones. So fennel seeds, again, a teaspoon of. I've got kalongi seeds or onion seeds. So a teaspoon of those. And I've got fenugreek seeds. So I've gone just under a teaspoon of those because they're quite punchy in their flavour and quite potent. And then I've got half a teaspoon of cumin seeds. And the reason I've gone half for that is because I'm also going to be adding some cumin seeds to the main masala as well. And I didn't want to overdo it.
I'm going to take a picture.
I'm also using, in this one, I'm using some chili flakes as well. You wouldn't normally have chili flakes in there, but you can, because you'd add your chilies to your dish. But I'm just going to be toasting some of those off just for a little bit of extra deliciousness. So those are my spices. We're going to toast them. We're going to get them really nice and aromatic. We're not going to burn them. And then we're going to let them cool down, and then we're just going to pop them into a blender and blitz it. So if you can see now, my oil is starting to smoke. There you go. So I'm just going to take that off.
Are they brown or black mustard seeds?
So I've got brown here, so you can use brown or black. So I've turned that off now. Hopefully we've not got smoke alarms going off all over the world because we're making smoke. So they're brown mustard seeds, but you can use black mustard seeds or brown mustard seeds. That's fine. So we'll pop this into a frying pan. I've got this frying pan this time just so that you can see what's going on. You can just use a small pan. You can do them one at a time if you want to. But all we're doing is literally just toasting them very, very, very gently.
We've got Crystal says, hello from Hastings, New Zealand. It's 5:30 a.m. Saturday morning. I'm excited for this curry. It's one of my faves.
Hi, Crystal from
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's 5 in the morning and you're already getting excited about a curry. That's what I like to see. Brilliant. So I'm just toasting my spices. I'm just going to spread them out and they just look so pretty. So bunch buren, it's a pickling spice blend, and the reason that it's pickling is because if you think about all the spices that are in there, they're all adding their little bit. So the fennel seeds are adding that aniseed flavour. You've got the fenugreek that's adding bitterness. You've got the kalongi that's going to be adding that pepperiness. You've got the mustard seeds that's adding that nose tingling pungency. And then a little bit of chilli powder for a little bit of heat and a bit of warmth. So it's a really lovely blend to use. You can buy them ready made, but I always say, as you know, those of you who have joined me in the past, it's always lovely to make it fresh because the aromatics that you get from something that is a whole spice that you then toast and crush and grind yourself is way, 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 way superior to anything you might buy. Now with your spices, you need to keep them moving because we don't want them to burn.
Did you say coriander seeds?
There's no coriander seeds in this mix, no. So the 5 spice, bunj 5, Hindi, I'm teaching you a language as well, bunj 5, bunj buren, so it's your 5 spices, and that is cumin, fennel seeds, kalongi seeds or onion seeds, mustard seeds, and fenugreek seeds. So it's those 5. And I said I've added a bit of chilli in there for extra. With your spices, you're not looking to, or you don't want them to go too dark a colour. All you're looking to do is for them to release their aromatics. As soon as you get that amazing, wonderful waft of aromatics and spicy smells coming through, you know that you've done your bit. That's all you need to do. So just give it a little. See, mine, I can smell it. I wish I could waft it over to all the way in New Zealand, eh? But it just smells amazing. Now, if you are doing this at home, in the comments, let me know what you think. Let me know if those aromas are coming through, because the more you talk about how it feels to cook live, the more we'll get more people doing it and actually building up the courage to do it live with us. It's actually quite good fun, isn't it? Right, so mine are absolutely delish. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to turn that off. You can see a little bit of steam coming through, but that's it. That's all I want to do. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to burn them. They look slightly golden now, and that's all we want. This one? Oh, this.
Yeah.
Got photographs going on. Okay, so whilst our spices are cooling, we're going to start to prep all of our ingredients now. I know that some of you will have already done it, you know, you're all ready and prepped and good to go. I, on the other hand, am not. So I like to do it with you so we can do it together. So with my onion, all I'm going to do is slice it nice and long. I'll move that out of the way, move this out of the way. Just slicing it really nice and long. And I'm going to use, I probably won't use both of the onions because I'm only using one of my aubergines. Now, if you've got shallots, that's fine. Get your shallots ready as well.
Steve is here.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Wi-Fi issues, but he's here.
Wi-Fi issues. We all know about Wi-Fi issues, don't we? We won't talk about those. Did you get a photo of the spices? Oh, just look at that. They look beautiful. Get a photo. So once you've got your onions ready, with your garlic, we're going to start to slice that up nice and long as well, and then I'm going to slice up my chilies so that they are nice and long too. Okay, before we move on, so my oil is now at the right sort of temperature, in that it's cooled down a little bit, which is perfect, because we don't want to add any spices into it when it's too hot, because they will just burn. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a teaspoon of cumin seeds, or half a teaspoon.
Christina said, so nice to be back cooking with you. I've been working on Friday, so I couldn't do it. I've got a day off today.
Yay, Christina! Christina or Christine?
Christina.
Christina, lovely to have you join. Welcome.
Dean said, makes such a difference toasting whole spices. It's worth the little effort to do it.
It really is, and toasting your spices, all it does is it releases those aromatics. So it takes your spices from a base level of here, which is just normal, up to here. Now I don't do it all the time. I don't do it in all my dishes, but some dishes I think it's worth it. So a teaspoon of cumin seeds go in. So I know that's cooled down, so I'm going to put that back up. And I'm also going to add, so with Asafoetida you have to be really quite conservative with it. You don't want to overdo it because it's very, very potent. So just half a teaspoon, and that will sizzle, and you don't want it to burn, but when you put it in you'll get that aromatic coming from it. It's quite punchy and quite so again, same thing, we're just toasting our spices, but we're just doing it in oil. So all I've got in the pan is the oil that we heated up and cooled down, cumin seeds and Asafoetida. Now if you don't have Asafoetida, just miss it out for now. Once that is sizzling, I'm going to then add onions into there and then start to prep all my other ingredients. I might put another onion in. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I've got half sat here, so I'm going to use that one. Okay.
Julian has caught up.
Yay, Julian, well done. Right, so my onions are going in. So give those a stir. Now usually when we're cooking, I always talk about taking your onions till they're really dark and caramelised, and that's usually because we're cooking a meat dish. When you're cooking a vegetable dish, you want the vegetables to sing for themselves. You want the spices to come through. So with these kinds of dishes, whether it's aloo gobi, whether it's aubergine, whether it's just potato, really all you want to do is just take your onions to a nice golden colour. So it's a much lighter masala from the onion perspective. So you don't need to do what we usually do when we cook our meat dishes. Give that a little stir. Whilst that's doing that, we're going to get our garlic, our chilies, our ginger and our ingredients ready. So I'm going to just slice my garlic because I like the texture in here. If you prefer not to have the garlic like that, you can crush it if you prefer, or you can chop it finely, or some people like to use ginger and garlic pastes and so on. I'm not really a fan. I prefer to use the fresh chopped up stuff. So just chop those up and just get everything ready to go. Keep listening to your pan. So if it sounds like it's going a bit crazy, it's because it's too hot, so you just need to turn it down a little bit. Because of the way that we've cut the onions, they will start to brown quite quickly, so do be mindful of that. go, it's looking good. And as always, this is your opportunity to ask me as many questions as you like, whether it be about the food or just if you've got any specific questions, please do make use of having me here with you, because that's what I'm here for. So with my chilies, I'm going to cut them nice and long, and we're just going to add those in. Again, bit of texture.
Joni says, love the aubergine top, by the way.
Do you like it? You're so perceptive, you lot. You're so clever. It took me ages to, I knew I had one somewhere, and then I pulled this one out, so I'm quite pleased with it. Quite pleased. I'm going to use 2 chilies. If you don't want to go for anything that's too hot, what you can do is you can use a chili, keep it whole. You can just stab it once or twice and just put it in whole, and what you'll get is the flavour of the chili, but you won't get the heat from it. So that's a really good little tip. And then the other thing that you can do then is, if you've got people in your home that prefer it hot and some like it mild, they can just have the chili and they can sort of mash that into their masala. So it suits everybody then.
Isabella says, hello from Elk Grove, California. Late to the party, but I'm still cooking.
Hi Isabella in California, welcome. Lovely to have you join. And you're cooking. Amazing. I'm really pleased. What time? What time is it in California? I get lost with all the different time zones that we're talking to. Have we got any? We've got someone from
New Zealand.
New Zealand. We've got Cape Town. So we've got South Africa.
We've got Canada.
We've got Canada. Amazing.
Yeah, not as many Europeans, I don't think, are here.
Oh, where are our Italians?
I don't know.
And our
oh, we've got Nesta in Barcelona.
We've got Nesta in Barcelona. So that's all good, representing that. We and France, we normally have a good few people from France joining us, which is always good. Now with my ginger, you can grate it if you want to, but again, because we're going for a bit of texture in this dish, I'm just going to slice it nice and thinly and just pop that to one side as well. Now, Indian food is I think it's great for the vegan diet, for the vegetarian diet, because it just has so much flavour that you can spice anything up without sort of, having to add flavourings or anything like that. It's a really, really good alternative. There's so many vegetables that you can just chuck in there, and pulses and lentils and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a really good.
Debbie is here in Italy. Sorry.
Hi Debbie in Italy. Sorry, we missed you. Okay, so I'm going to prep my aubergine. I'm going to prep my potatoes. With my potato, I'm using a Maris Piper, which is just an all-rounder. And the reason that I like to use these is because they cook much more quickly. If you've got something like a Desiree or a red potato, they take much longer to cook. So please be aware that if you've got a more waxy potato, that it's going to take longer. So you'll need to cook, you'll need to cook the potato for longer, or some people like to parboil them. I prefer not to, so I try to use a potato that I know is going to cook at a quicker rate. Have we got a question? Are you waving at me?
By the way, it's 10:45 in California.
10:45 in the morning, isn't it? Yeah. And you're cooking, are you? Or I thought you said you were.
I don't remember.
That's impressive. I'm really impressed with that.
Where do you get your knives from? Do you use the same site as the chopper?
So my knives, I have a selection of knives, and a lot of them I've sort of accumulated over the years. I like Japanese knives. They do have knives from Kernrikon, which are very good. But there's also Tajiro Senko knives are very, very nice, which are these. I'll show you this. So that's these ones, and again they're made by folding that metal over and over again, and it's almost like wood. You can see that effect on them. So a good Japanese, that's a Tajiro Senko knife, so you can find them. And then this is mine. I made this knife. I went to a blacksmith's and I made that, and it's got a mango wood handle and it's got all of that beautiful patterning on it. But I made it. It's not a very good knife to use, but I made it, so I'm really proud of it. Anyway.
Can I put a can of chickpeas in instead of potatoes?
You can put chickpeas in if you want to. There's no reason why not. The reason, so the potato and aubergine combination is a very classic Indian combination. We put potatoes with lots of things, so potatoes and cauliflower, potatoes and peas. We tend to, it would have been the staple that would have bulked the dishes out, but I know a lot of people don't want to have potatoes, so absolutely you can put chickpeas in there if you want to. I'm using potato because with the burrata, with the bread that we're making, I've just had this hankering for just ripping that bread and just coating it with the masala and the potato and squidging it and shoving it in my gob. But so yes, you can. So I've got my potatoes peeled, they're ready to go, and I'm going to get my aubergine. So I'm just going to cut it into chunks. One of the things that I suppose you might find a bit weird is that I tend to put the whole thing in, even that bit, and I don't know why I do that, but so I will cut through it, and then me and my mum would argue once it's cooked over who gets the bits with the end bits, because you can really chew on them and they're really yummy. So I tend to put the whole thing in. Bit weird, I know.
Linda says, I love using silicone utensils. It appears you do too, but they seem to retain the smell of what I've cooked. Regular washing doesn't work. Do you have a suggestion on how to remove it?
I love my silicone utensils. I think they're absolutely brilliant. They do tend to retain a bit of the aroma. I don't let it worry me too much. So you can wash them, you can soak them, but it's, you know, they are sort of made for being replaced, you know, in however long it takes. But I haven't really worried too much about it. The ones that sort of start to stain and then, you know, you sort of think, I tend to just get rid of them, but I do like them. They're really, really good to cook with. But if I find a successful cleaning mechanism, I'll let you know. I think things like you could soak them in a little bit of vinegar, so you could just put them into a white vinegar. That will help. And then also just a what's it called, the soap, it'll come back to me in a minute. Someone will know what I'm talking about. The sugar soap stuff, you can make a solution of that and you can put them in there and try that. But give those a go if it really bugs you. I don't, it doesn't really bother me too much. So right, look at my onions. They're looking nice and golden. Okay, so they haven't got too much colour on them, but they're getting there. So I'm going to let them cook for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to add my garlic into there. Saute that garlic off, let it cook down so that garlic rawness is cooked out, and then we're going to carry on and make our masala. So we'll come to that in a minute. That I didn't do very well with peeling that one. But before we sort of finish off the masala, we need to toast our spices. So just check your spices, just make sure they've started to cool down a bit. The reason that you wait for your spices to cool down is that if you grind them when they're hot, because they've got that heat in them, they tend to steam up and then they just stick to the inside of your blender and make a bit of a wet paste rather than a dry powder. So when you're cutting up your potatoes and your aubergine, try and get them in a similar sort of size. So not too, I don't want them too small because I want them nice and chunky so that they hold on to that masala flavour. And there we go. So nice and chunky. Keep an eye on those onions, make sure they don't burn. So this is really easily prepped. Now those of you who've got tomatoes, like I said in the recipe, you can also chop those up and just pop them into a bowl or something, just get those ready as well. And then when your onions have started to get that lovely golden colour, we're going to put our garlic into there as well.
You guys don't miss anything. Someone's just said we have the same toaster as you.
Same toaster?
Yeah.
It's a good toaster, I do like it, I have to say. You got the matching, oh, it's not there. We've got the matching kettle. That's really nice. It's a little dinky little kettle, which I'm very pleased with.
Debbie had to go out to the garage to get her wine. Have you added the garlic and chillies yet?
No, no garlic, no chillies. I'm glad you've got a glass of wine though, because I was getting a bit worried. Okay. There we go. So they're starting to get nice and golden. Looking yum. So now I'm going to just pop in my garlic, and just the garlic. No ginger or chilies as yet. Just your garlic, just to cook off that raw flavour or the raw aromatic that you get from it. And there we go. Looking good. And it should really be smelling quite fragrant and quite, it makes you want to jump in. Well, it makes me want to jump in anyway. Right, so whilst my garlic is doing its thing, I'm going to start to think about getting my spices into my blender. Now try and do this without getting it all over the floor or your work surface. So what I tend to do is, now that my pan is cold, I just sort of make a cup with my hand so it's like a funnel, and then just use that to pour it in. There we go. And nothing is lost, which is very important.
Are the potatoes and aubergine equal in part?
Yeah, pretty much I would say they are pretty equal in part, even though I've only used one of those and I've used 2 potatoes. And that really depends on you. So some people might not like a lot of potato, so you could just put less potato in, and you want to bulk up it. There's no right or wrong. It really depends on your personal sort of taste. So don't worry too much. I've gone the same. I've gone half and half. Oh, it smells really good. Okay. So next step then is that we're going to get our tomatoes in there, so our tomatoes start to cook down and reduce down, and then we will add our spices and the rest of our chilies and ginger. Now that the garlic is in and is softened.
Warren says, looking good from New York. I'm on a lunch break at work.
You're on a lunch break at work. Hi Warren in New York. I hope you're well. Oh, love New York City. Don't know when we're ever going to get back there, but it's lovely to have you join us in your lunch break. How amazing. Okay, right. So my tomatoes are going in now. Do you want to have a look? Shall I show you the pan? So look at that. Looking really beautiful, smelling really unctuous. So once your onions have browned and your garlic softened a little bit, just, you know, it only needs to be in there a couple of minutes. You just don't want it to have those raw flavours. We're going to go in with our tomatoes. And as I said, it's fresh tomatoes would be better. I forgot to buy some, so I had to use tinned tomatoes, but hey ho, that's fine. If you're using fresh tomatoes, if you've got really, really ripe fresh tomatoes and they've got quite a lot of juice in them, you should be all right. But if they are a little bit drier, then you might need to add a little splash of water as well, just to help everything come together. So I'm turning that up so it's on a nice high-ish heat so it comes to temperature. So whilst those tomatoes are cooking down and we're creating that masala, we're just going to blend our spices. So have a look. That's all of our lovely toasted yummy spices. I'm just going to put it into the blender and we're going to blitz it so that we get a lovely fine powder. You probably won't be able to hear me, but I'm just going to blitz it up. Once you start to get the aromas coming through, it's just magic. Oh, it smells so good. Right, if you guys are doing this at home, just put a little comment on, just to let everybody else know about the aromas and the aromatics, because it is just beautiful. So mine is still quite sandy. I'm going to do it for a little bit longer. So good. Okay. Yum, yum, yum. Now you can use this spice blend for lots and lots of different things. Sometimes I will make this blend, add a little bit of water, sometimes some ground peanuts, and you get the little baby aubergines and you can just slit them and use that as a paste to rub inside them, and then you just put them in a frying pan and cook them low and slow for ages. It's just beautiful. Okay, so once you have ground down your spices, and for those of you who are just joining for the first time ever, I like to encourage you to take pictures as you're going along so that you can share the experience with everybody. Once you are done, if you take these pictures, you can share them on my app with the whole community and everyone can see what you've been up to, and it's really lovely to see. So please do take pictures as you are going through.
Robert used a pestle and mortar.
Oh, well done. Have you got a fine paste, Robert? Because that's pretty hard work. Once you've toasted them though, it does make it a little bit easier to cook those and break them down. But yeah, I do know what you mean. Pestle and mortar, you're very, very brave. Right, so we've got our spice mix done. We've got our chilies ready, we've got our ginger ready, I've got my potatoes chopped and my aubergine all good to go. Now, as always, I will encourage you to tell me if I'm going too quickly or if I'm going too slowly. Just let me know where you are in the process, because I don't want to speed ahead and leave you behind and leave you all flustered, but I can only do that if you give me feedback and let me know how you're getting on. So please do add in your comments and just give us a little shout. There we go. So that's looking really nice. What we want to happen with our tomatoes is we want those tomatoes to break down to a pulp, and it will happen quite quickly, but we want everything to sort of just melt together so that it produces a really lovely thick masala. Tomatoes, and I've said this before, tomatoes have that natural acidity in them, and if you don't cook them down enough, that tomatoey acidity will stay throughout the dish, and that's not what we're looking for. We want it to break down so that it's yummy and tasty, and you get that masala coating all of the ingredients that you're putting in. So there we go. So once those have started to do that, we are going to add our other ingredients. So into your tomatoes, let's add, oops, let me pick this up. We're going to add our ginger, we're going to add our chilies. I'm going to put some salt in there. Very, very important ingredient. Obviously, if you've got health reasons for not having salt, that's absolutely fine. Or if you've got children who you don't want to give them additional salt, I get that too. That's absolutely fine. But salt does bring out flavour. It brings out the heat from chili. It brings out other aromatics and so on. And quite often when people taste their dish and it doesn't quite taste right, it's because they've just under seasoned. So do be mindful of that. Now this is looking lovely. So this is where we are at the moment. You've got those lovely flecks of chili and the onion is all cooking down and it looks beautiful and pretty vibrant looking. Now into here we're going to add our spices. So first thing we're going to do, from our masala dabba, we're going to put some turmeric in there. So a teaspoon of turmeric. Now, as I said, please let me know if you are, if you're sort of, I've left you way behind, or if you're at a place where you are following and we're all in the same place together, which is where we want to be. I'm going to put a little bit of chili powder in there as well. So I've got a teaspoon of Kashmiri chili powder going in there. Now be mindful, we've put fresh chilies in there and we also put some chilies into our spice blend. So if you think that's enough for you, don't add any more chili at this stage. I'm putting that in, the chili in, because primarily for a bit of colour, because it gives a lovely vibrancy to the dish. Our spice mix is going in as well. And once that goes in, that's when you're going to get those amazing smells coming through. I'm going to use a little spoon because I don't want to lose any of this. Oh, it's not a very good spoon.
Warren is back to work. He's going to catch up later. So thanks for helping me keep my family well fed during the months of lockdown last year.
Oh, I'm so pleased. Thank you, Warren, for watching. It does make a huge difference to hear these stories that people really appreciated it. I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Enjoy work. Have a good rest of the day. Okay, so chili powder's gone in, turmeric's gone in, our spice blender's gone in. I'm also going to add some fresh coriander seeds as well, not whole but crushed. So you can put these into a pestle and mortar or use one of these very nifty gadgets just to grind up that coriander. It's roughly about a teaspoon we want in there, and coriander just adds a little bit of lovely zing. So I'm just going to, that's looking good. And that should be it for your masala. Now, as always, we want all of this to come together. Oh, yum. I'm going to add just a little splash of water just to loosen it for a minute, just so that everything sort of combines a little bit better, only because it's dry. Oh, yum. Now, if you've got any bits of tomato in there, just use the back of your spoon and just squish them. This is going to be so good. I can't tell you. Now, aubergine's great because it's almost like a little sponge and it just soaks up all of that amazing yumminess that we put in there. Add just a touch more water actually. Now the reason that I'm doing that, I don't want to put too much water in because when the vegetables go in, we want it, so this dish is a dry dish. It's not really wet in that it's not like you don't have a gravy as such. It's quite a dry dish, so I don't want to add too much water, but I need to make sure that I've got enough moisture so that when the potatoes go in, that they are able to steam and cook and so on. So I'll show you what I mean. It's not wet at all. It's almost like a paste. So there we go. Can you see? It's nice and thick. and delicious. Now when you have got a lovely paste like that, one thing you can do is have a little quick taste.
We haven't done the mango powder yet, have we?
The mango powder's going in a minute. I just want to taste it first to make sure that that zing and the heat and the salt is there. I'm going to put a little touch more salt in. And I'm going to also add, so the mango powder we can put in now as well, but also it's quite a nice little touch just at the end. So when you're serving it, just to put a little bit on the top as well, it does make a little zingy difference. So that's looking good. So I'm going to just pop my mango powder in. I'm keeping a little bit for later. That goes in. And when the mango powder goes in, you'll really smell it. It's quite sulfuric-y in its smell. It's got, right, looks good. So have a little taste. Lovely. Okay, so potatoes in, and we just want to coat them all with that amazing masala that you've made, which is nice and thick and yummy. So that goes in, give that all a stir.
Mine looks a bit darker than yours. Maybe the camera.
That's fine. Who's that, sorry?
Robert.
That's fine if it's a little bit darker. It may be that you've taken your onions a bit darker. It might be that some of your spices were a bit, you know, sometimes you can just get little changes in colour, but don't worry too much. So long as you've had a little taste and it tastes good, that's the main thing.
Debbie thinks she's overdone the chilies.
Oh no, Debbie. Thought you would have learnt by now, less is more. So with heat and chilies, less is more. You can always add, you can't take it away. But once your potatoes go in, so if you think about it like this, if you are using potatoes, when you taste it as a masala, it's going to be quite punchy, and it should be, because if it isn't, when you add your protein or your ingredients to it, there's not going to be enough flavour there for it to pull out those the spices and the things that you've put in there. So by the time it's had time to cook down, and by the time some of those flavours have been absorbed by the potatoes and the other ingredients, I'm sure it will be fine. Right, so if I show you what this looks like. So the potatoes are in, and we're going to let those cook first for about 3 or 4 minutes with the lid on, just gently. But you'll see there's not a lot of liquid in there. Now don't panic and think it's going to stick or burn. So we're just going to turn it right down, and we'll pop the lid on so that we can let that do its thing. Whilst that's cooking away, we're going to have a little bit of a clear down. Just get rid of some of these ingredients, because all we're going to put in now is the aubergine, and we're going to let that cook. I've got some coriander that I'm going to chop up at the end, so I'll bring my board back, but we just need to clear down to make our burrati.
What is the pan that you're using called?
This pan,
yeah,
my saucepan. The saucepan is, so this is a chef's pan, that's what they are called, and they're a really, really lovely pan to use. I use mine all the time. I use it for pasta, I use it for all kinds of things, and the reason I like it is because they're deep, but they're a really nice shape. So dry dishes I will cook in here, and sauces I will make in here as well, and then you can add your pasta or whatever you might add to it in there, but that's a chef's pan, so if you can get a good chef's pan, it's worth it.
What is a better substitute for mango powder, chaat masala or tamarind, or neither?
I would say jarred masala is a good substitute for mango powder. If you've got jarred masala, use that. You can also, if you wanted to, you could put a little squeeze of lemon juice in here at the end as well, just to give it a bit more of a zing. If that's what you wanted to do, that's all good too. So I'm just moving those bits away. Is everybody still with me? Can you give me a little shout out and let me know if you are all fine and dandy, or if you if I've left you behind, or if you've got any comments at all. Come on, let's have your feedback and your chat. It's supposed to be a very interactive session, isn't it? Right, I'm just having a wipe down, and then I'm going to move this chopping board as well, and then we're going to make some roti. Yum! Okay, there we go. So, have we got any questions or anything that you want to ask whilst we are having a little bit of a lull? I bet you like just having a drink, aren't you? I know what you're like on a Friday night. Just quite happy to have a little glass of wine. Right. Okay, so roti. Now, we made these before, if you remember, or if you had joined me. We made some leche roti, which is a slightly different style to what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how my mum used to make them when we were little. In fact, she still makes them like that sometimes, depends what style she's doing. So I've got my tawa, which is my Indian roti pan. I have my rolling pin. I've got some ghee in here. You don't have to use ghee if you don't want to. You can use oil or you can use butter, whatever you fancy really. And I've got my dough. So I did say have your dough ready. So here's my dough already made up. And what I've done in here is I've added some ajwain seeds or carom seeds into the dough. Very sort of classic Indian addition to dough. So if you don't know what ajwain is or carom is, it's a little tiny little seed. It's a spice. It's very, very potent. It's got quite a strong flavour, so you need to be really careful with it. But we tend to have it in breads. It's really, really good for your digestion as well. So we tend to put that in. So I've got a few of those in here, and then I just need.
Joni's having a little drinky, having finished financial year end.
Oh, I bet you've had a busy time then, haven't you? I don't blame you. I think we're all allowed to do that. Right, check your potatoes, give it a little stir. If they've caught a little bit, don't worry too much. So they have been in there now. We're going to add our aubergine into there as well so that the aubergine starts to cook. So just pop it in, just bring it over here. So just pop it in, and same principle, we just need to make sure that they are all coated with the masala and they start to cook down. Now, the reason that I say don't worry too much about the moisture is once you've got your aubergine in there, you'll get some moisture coming through from the aubergine. But we will keep an eye on it, because if you are worried that it sticks, then you can add a little splash of water.
Julian says, my onion mixture started to catch on the bottom of the pan a bit, so I'm swapping pans. Also, my daughter Mai has joined me. She's suffering with a slip disc at the moment.
Oh no, I hope you're feeling better very, very soon. Is it Maya?
Mai.
Oh, I hope you're feeling better. Don't worry about swapping pan unless you've burnt it on the bottom of your pan. If it's just caught a little bit, you don't need to change pans. All I would suggest is just add a little splash of water, and that will just lift everything off the bottom of the pan, and it will just, because what you're doing by changing pans is you're losing a lot of flavour which is in that pan. So all you need to do is just deglaze it a little bit with just a splash of water, rather than getting rid of all of that yummy flavour that's in the bottom. Okay, so all coated, all looking lovely, and then the lid is going to go on, and I'm going to put that on a fairly low heat. So it's quite a low heat because we don't want it to burn or catch. So that is going to go in there. Actually, I'll keep that spoon for Okay, so my tawa is on a fairly lowish heat because we want it to warm up. We don't want it to be too hot at the moment. Taking a ball of my atta, as we call it, and we're going to just make a ball the same way that we did when we made rotis. So it's slightly thicker than a roti because we're going to be doing a bit of folding. There we go. And then just put a little bit of your dusting on there and just flatten it out to make it round. God, I haven't made these for a while actually. I'm having to remind myself how to do them. So just roll them. So only a little roll, not too much. You can see the little flecks of the spice in there. So once it's about that size, so that's just sort of side plate, dinner, a small side plate, we're going to put the butter in. So to make my dough, I had obviously the atta, water, a little bit of salt, and the carom seeds. Now, if you're using butter, you just smear the butter on. If you're using oil, you can put a little bit of oil on. If you're vegan, you can use coconut oil, whatever you want to use. So once you've got your butter or ghee or whatever that might be, we're going to fold it. So you go up, so from the bottom, you go halfway up, okay? And then from the top, you go over halfway. So you've got a nice long rectangular shape. And then you just go from the side in halfway, and the other side goes over the top. So you end up with a square. Is everybody with me? Do you want to take a photo? So that's what we end up with. Okay? And then we start to roll that out. So you just put a little bit more dusting on it. Now, we'll see how square it stays as we roll it out. So gently, trying to keep the inside. But you will get the butter coming through. So that's absolutely fine. A little bit more dusting. And we are aiming for a square this time. So is it Gordon who had to invest in square plates for his square rotis? This is just for you, so that you don't need to worry anymore about having square rotis, because I've made you a square burrata instead. So there we go. So when we were little, my mum sometimes would make them triangles, sometimes they'd be squares, all different sort of folding patterns that you can use, but that's what you're aiming for. So you've got that lovely square. You can see it. We're just having a picture. And then make sure your tawa is warm, and we'll pop it straight on, okay? There we go. Now have a look at your aubergines. So you should have a little bit of moisture coming through. If not, you can add a little splash of water if you're a bit worried. Just take a quick pick. Okay. I am going to put a little splash of water in just to help it steam, and hopefully that will cook along. Okay, so once your burrata is on the first side, you'll start to get little bubbles as it starts to cook, and then all you want to do, and obviously if you don't want to use your fingers, you just need to use a fish slice or anything like that. I'm just going to use my hands. So once you start to get these little bubbles, you just turn it over. And then on the side that you've just turned over, that's had some cooking to it, so that side's been cooked a little bit. We are going to put a little bit more butter or ghee or oil, whatever you're using, just to coat it. Not too much, just enough. So we just let the other side cook, and then we're going to turn it over again, and then you'll get the lovely puff of smoke and steam. I'm just going to grab a plate so that we can pop it on there. There we go. So now it starts to puff up. So it's not going to puff up like a roti would, but you still get that hot steam inside it, because that's what's going to be cooking it. So this should be nice and crispy on the outside, and inside it's all flaky and yummy and delicious. So every time you put oil on a side, you just make sure that you just turn it over and let it cook for a bit. That's lovely, so I'm going to pop that on there. So shall we do another one? We'll make another one. I'll give my aubergine a quick stir. So that is, it's coming together. Right, we'll do another quick one of these. So is anybody making the roti or the burrata? Has anyone said if they're making them? I'd be interested to see if you do. Now normally you do sort of join in to make the breads. The breads are always the fun thing, I think. So if you've got any questions, please do shout out, ask away. Now is your opportunity. So we're going to give this another little roll. Every time it sticks, a little bit more flour, and it just stops it from sticking. And we're going to do the same one. Now before, we rolled them out really, really thin, and we made little roses with them. So there we go. So just smear that inside with some lovely butter and ghee.
Steve, Robert, Debbie, they're doing the breads.
Steve, Robert and Debbie, you're all cooking the breads. Amazing. That's the bit that I love it when you guys give it a go. It's always so much fun. So I'm going to show you again. So you fold halfway up, flatten it down, you fold halfway down, flatten it out there, halfway in, and then halfway in again. I hope you're making these, Gordon. You're supposed to be an expert at these, making square ones. Right, so we're going to roll away.
Christina's trying. Mark says his burrata look interesting.
Ah, I love it. Do take photos of your breads, guys, because it's always fun to see and fun to look at. And you know what? The more you do them, the better you'll get. So usually a burrata is what we have for breakfast. So it's generally a breakfast dish. But sometimes it's quite nice to indulge every now and again. So these burrata, we'd have them in the morning with the leftover potatoes from the curry. Sometimes we would use the leftover potatoes in the curry, mash them up and stuff them inside the roti or the burrata.
And
so
it's the best thing ever.
It is the best thing in the world. It is the world's best breakfast. I cannot tell you. Aloo parathe, as we call them, are just amazing. So there you go.
Gordon's not doing it. He said he'll give it a go on Monday.
Oh, Gordon's going to give it a go on Monday. Well, I'd love to hear what you think. Okay, so a little pat of cake again and pop it onto your tawa. So we'll do this one, and hopefully our aubergine will be, it's going to need a little bit more cooking, I think. So you guys might need to carry on cooking your aubergine, but I'll show you what it's supposed to look like.
Is the technique the same for aloo parathe?
So the technique is not the same for aloo parathe. So what we tend to do is you'd make a circle. So you'd make 2 circles, and then you put the filling in, and then you put the other disc on the top, seal it all around the edge. There is a video. Is there a video? But there's definitely a recipe, and then cooking wise it's the same, but it's 2 discs, or some people use 1 disc, fill it in the middle, and then pull it up, make a ball with it, and roll those out. I'm a 2 disc lady when it comes to aloo parathe. It's the only way to have them is 2 pieces. Right, so same principle, a little bit of ghee on the top, or oil. There we go. Now, if you are at home and you want to have this with a little bit of rice, you can get your rice on now as well. I don't think you need rice as well with this. I would just go with the bread option, because you can scoop it up and enjoy, but obviously it's personal choice. Some people don't like the breads, so you can do it to whatever suits you and your family. That's what cooking is all about, so that you can adapt it and change it so that you enjoy it. There we go. That's looking yum. So it's really lovely and crispy on the top and puffed up and lovely inside. Yum, yum, yum. That's making me very hungry. Right, let's have a look at our aubergine. So it's going to take a little bit more cooking. Potatoes are getting there. The aubergine needs a little bit longer, but oh, it smells really, really good. Don't worry if it's a little bit stuck on the bottom of the pan. Just that you can add a little splash more water, and that will just help it along. But we are pretty much all there. Now, all you need to do is just check that the potatoes are cooked, and obviously check that your aubergine is cooked through. I think if you are cooking at home, it's going to take another 10 minutes or so, so don't rush it, and you can just take a little break and carry on with your breads and so on. But I'm going to show you what it looks like. So for your garnish, we're going to add a little bit of chopped coriander. So I've got some coriander here, which I'm just going to chop up. Take my burrata off. It's looking lovely. So I'm just going to chop up some coriander, and I'm going to show you how it looks so that you can enjoy the rest of your Friday night without me bugging you. There we go. So a little bit of chopped coriander just on the side here. So if we go,
how can you tell when the aubergine is cooked?
So the aubergine you'll see that it doesn't hold its shape anymore, and it's just sort of sucked in. By the time the potatoes are done, the best way to test that it's done obviously is to taste it. If it's still a little bit hard, you know that it's not quite there. So just let it cook for a little bit longer. The potatoes, obviously you can tell because they will start to soften a little bit more, but I'm just going to show you on the side of my plate here because it's looking, mine's looking pretty good, but it's really lovely and vibrant in its colour. We're just going to top that with a little bit of delicious fresh coriander, and we're going to serve that with our amazing delicious roti on the side, which are lovely and flaky and yummy. So there you go, there is your Achaari bangan with your lovely plain roti, which are fried breads made with atta and little carom seeds that we've added into there, and then our amazing Achaari bangan, which is made with pickling spices, a whole blend of 5 different pickling spices that come together, and they just are yummy. If you wanted to, you could squeeze a little bit of lemon juice on the top of that, but there you go, there is your Friday night curry dish done in just over an hour. So who says it takes a long time for a curry to cook? For those of you who are cooking at home, I would suggest you probably leave it for a little bit longer. The potatoes need just a touch more cooking. Thank you for watching. As always, I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you give me a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you share the video with your friends and family. If you've got any questions or anything, please do keep those questions coming through. I will continue to answer them as we go through the evening. Make sure you subscribe as well. Always give a little subscription. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to the channel because it's lovely to have you join. Thank you for cooking with me. Make sure you take photos, post your pictures on the app. If you don't have the app, just download it. It's Harry Ghotra that you can find on your app store. It's free to download. Take a picture of your dish from your Friday night curry club and post it on there, and it's the quickest way that I can see it, and I will share it on there as well. So have a fabulous bank holiday weekend, everybody. Enjoy the relaxation. If you're working, I feel really sorry for you, but hey ho, it's the way the world goes. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Oh, before I forget, next week we've got a super special Friday night curry club. We are going to be talking about Indian food and wine next week, and I will be giving you some suggestions when it comes to wine and what to look out for when you are choosing wine to have with your Indian meal. And I'll be posting on Wednesday just some more information about what we'll be doing, and we will have a wine expert that is going to be joining us, and she will be there to answer all your questions as well. So join me next Friday for another amazing Friday night curry club. Have a great